Unit 2 is called radicals. We've already learned that radicals are anything with this root symbol over top, and it can be any index, a square root, a cube root, a fourth root. But today we're going to be actually simplifying radicals. When you're simplifying radicals, you have to know what the perfect square numbers are. And when I say perfect square, I mean like the number 4. If I had 4 little squares that I cut out for you and I said, arrange this into a perfect square, you'd say, well, here's 1, 2, 3, 4, right? A 2 by 2 makes 4 little squares. If I said, here's 9 squares, could you arrange that into a perfect square? Yeah, you would say, well, that's 3 by 3. If I said 16 or 25, those are all perfect squares. If I said 12, yeah, that's a nice even number, but I couldn't arrange 12 squares into a big square. I could have 6 by 2, that would make 12. I could have 3 by 4. 3 times 4 makes 12, but there's no number times itself or a square that would make 12. So let's list out the first perfect squares. The smallest one is actually 1. 1 square is a perfect square. We don't use that though because that doesn't help us simplify. Then we said 4, because that would be a 2 by 2. Then 9 is a perfect square because that's a 3 by 3. Then think 4 times 4 is 16. 5 times 5 is 25. 6 times 6 is 36. 7 squared is 49. 8 times 8 is 64. 9 times 9, 81. 100. A few more. If you know 11 times 11, that's 121. 12 times 12 is 144. 13 times 13 is 169. And then 14 times 14 is 196. And 15 times 15 is 225. Shouldn't need any bigger than that. These numbers are actually on the top row of my wall, so you can visually see perfect squares from these numbers. So we're going to use these to express these radicals in simplest form. So again, 12 we talked about is not a perfect square. So I could not simply square root this like if I had square root of 81. We know that is 9 because 9 times 9 makes 81. That's the definition of a square root, is what number times itself. 12 doesn't have one. So what I want you to think about doing is breaking up the number 12 using a number from this list. That would go into 12 or be a factor of 12. And obviously that's 4. 4 times 3. But these are still square roots of these numbers. So square root of 12 is the square root of 4 times square root of 3. So just think about splitting it. Then I ask myself, what is the square root of 4? What number times itself makes 4? A normal 2. So 2 comes out. Square root of 3 is not a perfect square. I can't do anything with that, so it's square root of 3 under the radical. So this would be 2 square roots of 3. All right, let's try number 2 is 180. 180 is not a number on my list. So I'm going to have to figure out what number goes into 180. My advice to you is start from the higher numbers on this list, and I'll explain a little more here in a minute. But 180, it's got to be smaller than 180, but it's not going to be that, it's not going to be that, it's not going to be that. 100 doubled is 200, so too much. 81, probably not. Let's try 64. So I'm going to do 180 divided by 64. No, it does not go in even because it made a decimal. Let's try 49. No, let's try 36. 5. So what I want to do is rewrite this as the square root of 36. I always put my perfect square first, times the square root of 5. Then I can square root 36, which would be 6 square roots of 5. Okay, number 3, 108. Let's see if 108 divides by 4. I think it does. Okay, here's what kind of not to do. If you do, it's okay, but I know you won't probably catch it. So I'm going to try to teach you how to avoid that, or I guess how to catch it and fix it. So 108, let's say you start on the small end of the list and you try forward. Hey, it works. Okay, great. So I do square root of 4 times square root of 27. Square root of 4 is 2. Then I would have square root of 27. You'd say you're done. Does 27 divide by any number on this list? Yes, 9. So I would actually have to go again and break up the square root of 27 into the square root of 9 times square root of 3, because 9 times 3 makes 27. Square root of 9 is 3 square roots of 3. Well, this 2 is times the square root, so I would have to take 2 times the 3 in front, which is 6 square roots of 3. So now, would you catch this? I don't know. That's why I tell you to start from the higher end of the list. Really, you should have taken out, if this were a 6, really, if I square it, would be 36. So I bet 108 divides by 36. It does. I could have just had 36 and 3. Square root of 36 is 6. Square root of 3 gets there faster. Okay, so beware that starting from the top of the list is going to require you not to simplify again, but if you start with a small number, you might have to go again, multiply the two numbers in front, and it just takes an extra step.